All right, good morning, world. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you're going to have a great day. It's Friday. Friday's always kind of special in our world. I love Fridays. I love what happens in the weekend, and so the Tamster and we always usually try and find something fun and interesting to do on Friday. If I've got Saturday a little bit away, and we're going to have a great time doing something like that. But that's kind of what we do. Our city is slowly coming out of this lockdown, but not as fast as I think some people would want. We still can't eat in restaurants. Today we have to start wearing masks since we're coming out from our cubby hole, so to speak. And so if I venture into the city, I've got to have one of those. Tonight we're going to go down to the city and eat dinner, though, somewhere. You know, they have to-go stuff, so we'll figure all that out. But we just had our interstate redone in Birmingham that goes through it. And they're planning on putting a park underneath there. And so they're lighting it. So it's all these colored lights and everything like that. So I just want to ride down and see what's going on underneath the lights. It's near Uptown. If you're familiar with Birmingham, you want to come out. It's kind of what's some going on, some cool stuff down there. I think we're doing that. So anyway, that's kind of what we're doing. I hope you're going to have a great weekend. I'm going to finish up a course, do some video and shoot some course for tomorrow. That's kind of my plan. But I've been thinking, man, when we get out from underneath this thing and we actually can see each other face to face, I think I'd love to do a little meetup. Just kind of find a little place and see anybody who's been kind of tracking with us in this daily dose. Let's just get together and have a little conversation and, just have a little good time, some snacks and whatever. But anyway, that's down the road. So we're just journeying along in this thing. We're in a section now that we're calling the Spirit-filled relationships. So if you've been tracking with this, we've been looking at at 5 attitudes, and then we looked at 11 behavioral shifts, and so now we're looking at Spirit-filled relationships and what that looks like. So we're in the wives, second day, not because it takes more. It's just there's a lot to talk about with wives and things like that in spirit-filled life. So I kind of want to jump into it so we don't waste a lot of time and kind of just chit-chat here and there. I think just to review the spirit-filled life, there really are 3 components to what it means to be spirit-filled. Now, the Spirit is within us. God himself has taken up residence within us. The Holy Spirit is seen as a deposit, so to speak, reminding us that we have an inheritance ahead. He's also our comforter. He is power. He is fire for us. He is our GPS. It leads us true north. All of these things we need to be reminded of as we move into our relationships, because there is no standing still in the Christian life. You're either drifting back toward the world or you're moving forward. That's Romans chapter 12. Be not conformed to this world. Don't be passively shifting toward the world, but be transformed. So in the Christian life, it's easy to become moral, right? Outwardly, we do the right thing. Inwardly, we fight, with our deal, and maybe we don't always agree how we act, so we become somewhat hypocritical. Moral Christians are some of the most dishonoring to Christ that there are. We're not looking to be moral. We're looking to be spirit-filled. And so I'm going to keep showing my glass to you and reminding you that in order to be filled with the Spirit lives within us. How do I become filled so that he is the one who supernaturally is working through me to accomplish things that I could never accomplish on my own? There has to be an emptying. If you're not putting down the flesh, if you're not constantly ridding yourselves of sin and unholy aspects of life, you'll never be spirit-filled. There has to be that emptying. There has to be that. Second thing, there has to be that cleaning. There has to be constant confession and repentance in our life. And then there has to be a constant filling. We have to constantly be drinking the Word, constantly doing that. It's the Word that becomes at home in my life and transforms me. Now, when that happens, and we bring that into a relationship, such as marriage, it is amazing. It turbos your marriage to a whole nother level when you and I are doing that. When we're filled with the Spirit, and we have what I call eyes up, right? We're not focused on ourselves, but our eyes are up. We're focused on our mate. Some crazy, incredible stuff will happen. The reason why we don't stay there is because we tend to begin to look down at ourselves, and we feel like, well, my mate's not meeting my needs. And all of a sudden we become absorbed with ourselves, and our marriage feels like it's getting worse. It's not getting worse. It's the fact that your eyes are not up. And and so this is where we are. So yesterday, I keep saying last week, I'm teaching every day. It's crazy. Like I'm preaching every day. It's crazy. So yesterday we looked at and we came away with the fact that you need to treat him as a leader, right? You treat him as that. You submit to him. You line up under him, your husband, and you see him as a leader. He may not be the leader that he is, but you're going to see him that way, and you're gonna line up under him, and you're gonna do that. It doesn't come natural to you because women want to dominate over men. It's a part of the curse. It's a part of what we looked at in the scriptures. We can have an argument if you want to, but I'm always appeal to truth. Some women tend to be a little more submissive. It's more of a personality type than anything. But within, there's a fight, just like there is in all of us. Practically speaking, we saw a few things that women should do. They should be there for their husband, right? Be there for your husband. He needs that. You should believe in him. He needs to be believed in. These are practical things that when you do that, this is what it looks like to submit to your husband. Crazy things will happen in your marriage. Good stuff, not bad stuff. You work with him, right? Not against him. You're working with him, and then you're honoring him. Now, today, I want to go to a different section of the scriptures to see a few other things that really Paul, when he wrote to the Ephesians, and he did the same thing to the Colossians, he said some very similar things. Peter, when he wrote to the church that was scattered abroad, has some things to say about marriage also. And so I want to kind of look at that passage. Now, before we jump into it, let me give you a little bit about men, all right? Because I think maybe sometimes, we're not complex people, really, men aren't, but we're not always upfront about things. So let me just give you a few things, run down. This normally takes we do a seminar on this, but I'm just going to give it to you quick. We have three felt needs, right? Food, we love food. Way to a man's heart, food, right? Food, sex. We love sex. Doesn't matter. Women feel it. We're just like, hey, we're ready, all right? And the third thing is toys. We love toys, whether it's little cars when we're kids or big stuff when we're grown. We love those three things. That's our felt needs, but that's not really what is going to drive us. That's what we believe we need. We have inner desires. We always want to win the beauty, right? So we have this desire to win a woman. And so when we got married, we did. It doesn't end there, but a lot of times it feels like it. There's always a battle to fight. Men love it. We love a challenge. That's why we're into sports. That's why we're going to build businesses. We're going to do whatever. There's a battle out there, and there's an adventure to live. And we all love these adventures. And so that's our inner desires. Now, the true needs, and this is where I want to come to with women today. The true need that every man has innate within us is respect and self-esteem. I need to feel I have been respected by my wife. And I have we men tend to have somewhat of a low self-esteem. I mean, I realize like I'm kind of an off-the-chart, optimistic, outgoing guy, and so I maybe sometimes come across like I've got it all together, and that's more arrogance than self-esteem. But we all feel like we're about that far from cracking up. So if you want a great marriage, if you focus on those two things, making your husband feel respected and building his self-esteem up, I know it sounds childish, like we're kids, but if you do those two things, it's going to be crazy good marriage. So let's talk about it, because we come into 1 Peter 3, and Peter wants to talk about the concept of what do you do if you have a husband that's just not really into the word. Well, he's got an answer. I'm going to read it for you. 1 Peter chapter 3, and here's what he says. In the same way, again, he's speaking of submission. All the scriptures speak of submission as though we submit to everyone. It's not just a rule for women. It's all of us. He says, in the same way, you wives, be submissive to your own husbands. What are we talking about? Well, we talked about yesterday. Line up under. Do all of those things we talked about. So that even if they are disobedient to the word, they may be won over without a word from you wives. Now, if we look at that practically, what he's saying is you be the thermostat in the marriage. I realize it should be the guy, and Lord willing it is, but it doesn't matter. It literally does what they say take two to fight. So when your husband is going off and he's doing things and he's maybe saying harsh things and he's doing whatever, be the thermostat. Don't respond like the thermometer. In other words, okay, if he's hot, I'm going to match it. Don't do that. Set the temperature. Set it lower. This is what he's saying to do here. You be steady with you. This is what a spirit-filled woman, this is what she's brilliant at, all right? She's uncontrolled by outward circumstances. She's controlled by the Spirit of God. So she's the thermostat. When he's disobedient, when he's obedient, doesn't matter. You just maintain your composure. You will, I promise you, change your husband. It will happen. The second thing is, and it's kind of written in here undercover, but don't nag. All right. Don't. I know you. Some of you think, well, I'm not nagging. I'm just trying to make him do what he ought to do. I get all that. We get all that. But there's a better way than nagging. Solomon, who had enough wives to have figured this thing out, said, listen, it's better for a man to live in the corner of a roof than with a nagging woman. He's like, we can't handle that. Then he says, at some point, when a woman does that, all we hear is a dripping faucet. Listen, you can keep thinking that you're going to keep saying things and change your husband. We have this innate ability, men, to just hear, man, man, man. At some point, it's like, I don't hear that anymore. Now, a lot of that's just our brain deadness, because we can actually think about nothing, and that's a whole nother story. And there's a lot of times I'm thinking about nothing, and Tammy starts talking, and about 3 sentences in, I'm like, I feel like I just jumped into a movie, and I'm not even sure what the plot is. That's how a lot of men approach situations. Good ones, bad ones, it's just who we are. You got to love us in spite of it, but that's kind of where we are. And then he says, hey, it's just better to go live in a desert land. I just shouldn't go, just give me nothing, man. Let me live in the burnt sun and eat whatever little creature I can find to eat out there. So that's not how you do it. If you want to see change in your mate, or you want to see some things happen in your mate, we're going to go back to those two things: appeal to their respect and their self-esteem. You know, and Tammy does this somewhat instinctively, and I'm not trying to elevate her. We just live long enough, and she's lived with a hard man, so she's figured things out. But she does that instinctively. She'll go, hey, look, I know you're busy. You know what she's doing there? Appealing to my respect. Hey, I know you're busy. Like, hey, I value your time. I'm respecting you. And then she'll say, I can't do this without you. You know what she's doing there? Massaging my self-esteem. Oh, my baby needs me, right? Those two statements, as opposed to, when are you ever going to fix, however that goes, when you start a conversation with that, that's when we hear, wah, wah, wah. But if you go, hey, babe, I know you're busy, but I really need this done. You've scratched where we itch. It's very hard for a man not to do what he needs to be done when a wife treats him like that. Now, I'm not trying to teach you how to manipulate your husband. I'm trying to get you to understand what it looks like to be a spirit-filled wife and how this works. And so the last thing that he says is, he says, one, that they may be one without a word, as they observe your chaste and respectful behavior. You see what he's saying there? Chaste and respectful. Like, hey, the same thing we've been talking about: respect, self-esteem. Your adornment must not be merely external. Now, we appreciate you women who take care of yourself and put yourself all together and you look incredible. He's not saying don't do that. He's saying don't make your whole life about that. That outward beauty fades. That outward beauty gets overshadowed by whatever's coming out of your mouth a lot of time. And so he's saying, listen, if you think that all your man wants is you to look hot, now there may be some men out there like that. They're probably not for you. Because there's something flawed in them. What we want, men who we love a good looking woman. I'm married to what I think is one of the most beautiful women ever. I mean that. I like her at this age. If I had to choose, she was gorgeous in her 20s. She's absolutely gorgeous in her 60s. But why that is? Because there's this inner beauty in her, and this is what he's talking about here. Let your adornment not be merely external, braiding the hair, wearing gold jewelry, putting on dresses, but let it be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable quality of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is precious in the sight of God. Now, I know some of you women have these large personalities, and we're not talking about personality like, well, I'm not gentle and quiet. We're not talking about that kind of gentle and quiet. We're talking about coming from an aspect of exactly what we're talking about. We've been talking about spirit-filled. A gentle and quiet spirit means that it's been broken. It's been brought under control. You have brought your life under control so that it's not about you. It's going to be about your husband. And so this is what he's saying. He says, you make that inner beauty a priority. Man, when it's hard. When you got a woman who's just sweet and she's caring and she's respectful and she's building your self-esteem, She owns you. I mean, it's like you may as well put a ring in my nose and put a chain on it because I'm going to follow her wherever she goes. This is the key to a really healthy marriage from a female perspective. Now, I realize I probably upset some of you women the past 2 days, and you're like, man, I don't like this guy anymore. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to be a faith. Don't shoot the messenger kind of thing. Monday and Tuesday of next week, we're going to jump at the men. We're going to have a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see it. Man, I hope your weekend is great. And I love you guys. Hope to see you soon.